Hello again and welcome to another Warhammer 40k Imperial Guard Tactics video. Now today we will be continuing our second part of the Basic Weapons Tactics series. So the first part we looked at special weapons, all the way from the 2-point sniper rifle to the potentially 17-point melter gun. And now we're going to be looking at the heavy weapon systems. We're going to be looking at heavy bolters all the way through to las cannons. The point of this series is to give people who are maybe new to Imperial Guard an idea of what the weapon systems do and where they are best used in your army. This series is primarily geared towards infantry, so I'll be looking at, when I'm talking about a heavy bolter, it'll be a heavy bolter on an infantryman. We're not talking about heavy bolters on maybe Lehman Russ or anything like that. Okay, although there are some general principles that carry over. Like in the last series, we're going to be splitting the weapons into budget/basic weapons. Ones which are a bit more cheap, a little bit you get what you pay for, but are obviously therefore much more numerous in your army. And we're also going to be talking about elite/advanced weapon systems. They're the ones which you pay a lot of points for, but you definitely get what you pay for. Okay? Now, we're going to start off today's series with the Heavy Bolter. The Heavy Bolter isn't the cheapest weapon system, it's actually the second cheapest, but it is a really good place to start. Okay, because it's a good, solid, classic heavy weapon, the Heavy Bolter. Okay? What is the Heavy Bolter? It is essentially in terms of the Warhammer world, it's basically a medium machine guns. It's bigger than a storm bolter and a heavy stubber, which are kind of light machine guns, and it's more of a medium machine gun. It's still got the high rate of fire of those weapon systems, but it has a much bigger punch. So what is the Heavy Bolter? It costs 8 points, and for that pretty modest price, you get yourself a heavy 3 weapon, so it fires 3 shots. If you move with it, it's -1 to hit because it's a heavy weapon. And it has a range of 36 inches, which is the longest of the weapon systems we've talked about so far. Bar the sniper rifle, which also has a 36-inch range. And it has 3 shots. And it is strength 5, AP -1. Okay, so for 8 points, you're getting 3 shots, strength 5, and they will -1 to your enemy's armor save. Okay, now that's pretty good. It's a solid weapon. I'm going to go out straight away and say you can't go wrong with a good heavy bolter. And that's pretty much true for any edition of 40k. Now, in previous editions, like sort of 6th and 7th edition, heavy bolters were kind of looked down upon because they were the same price as an autocannon, but generally speaking, autocannons were considered better. Although even back in those editions, I still maintained the heavy bolter was a solid choice, and it was a solid choice. The thing that makes it good, in my opinion, now in 8th edition, possibly one of the best weapon systems you can get your hands on, is because it no longer has to compete with the autocannon. The autocannon is a 12-point weapon system. This is 8 points. For almost the same price, you can get a heavy bolter and a grenade launcher, and that's a lot of Dakka you're putting down there for only 13 points. Likewise, if you really need to go on a budget, heavy bolter and a sniper rifle won't do you wrong, and is quite fluffy as well. It's like having a marksman and a heavy weapon and a machine gun in a squad. So yeah, it's an absolutely solid weapon system. It's only 8 points, so it's no longer competing with the heavy bolter, and it has 3 shots. Now, the big thing which I think has always been a major thing for the heavy bolter, is the fact that it has 3 shots. Because if you're anything like me, your dice rolls are pretty bad. And when I roll 2 shots to fire with an autocannon, I'll often miss both. When I roll 3 shots with heavy bolter, I'll consistently get the 1. Does that make sense? So the heavy bolter has that insurance against bad luck. And AP -1 is an absolute godsend. There's nothing more frustrating than trying to dig out tactical marines or their equivalent, any toughness 4 3+ save model. It's nothing more frustrating than trying to dig them out of cover, because they'll have a 2+ save, and without if you know that AP -1 will basically just negate their cover, which is a big difference. Big difference. I can tell you, just talking, bringing a little bit of vehicle aspect into this. When I use my Dakka chimeras, where they've got the double heavy bolter on them, I cannot tell you the amount of times I've been grateful for essentially their ability to ignore cover with the AP -1. It is a godsend. Heavy bolter spam is a very legit tactic. Now, where would you use this weapon system? Okay, that's the key to it, because we've established now the heavy bolter is a good gun. Okay, it's good. But now we need to really discuss where it's best served. Okay, now it's actually surprising. The heavy bolter, it's such a sort of good weapon system. You can pretty much include it in any squad you want. Or veteran squads, they're still going to find it useful. But where I think it really shines is in two places. One, the basic infantry squad, and two, the heavy weapon squads. Okay. Now the reason it works well in the basic infantry squad is it's pretty obvious. I mean, it's 3 shots that helps get past the mediocre blitz skill 4+. It gives your infantry squad some much needed ability to reach out at long distances and fire and do some damage. And it combos well with many of the special weapon systems. In fact, the only one it doesn't go well with is the melter gun. The sniper rifle, both got 36-inch range. It's not too shabby. The grenade launcher, heavy bolter grenade launcher, is a classic combination which has been used throughout pretty much every edition of Imperial Guard, and it still remains a good combo today. If you want to have a combo that's going to serve you throughout any edition of Warhammer 40k, you go grenade launcher heavy bolter or grenade launcher autocannon. They'll never steer you wrong. It goes well in a basic infantry squad with the flamer, just because it keeps the squad relatively cheap, but still allows them to be a pretty effective speed bump. 3 or 4 heavy bolter flamer squads, you can chuck them out front, be the first wave that the enemy's going to cut down or charge into. It gives them, the flamer works well with the heavy bolter, just for the fact that in Overwatch, heavy bolter's got 3 shots, so a better chance of hitting something. And it's only 8 points, so it's not a huge investment to lose it. Works well with the plasma gun, simply because plasma guns and basic infantry squads are so cheap. They're 7 points. So for 15 points, you're getting yourself a real deal. In fact, when 8th edition first dropped, I very quickly identified that pretty much the best infantry squad that you could field was the plasma heavy bolter squad. You could not go wrong with the plasma heavy bolter squad. And if you really wanted to source things up a little bit, you would go plasma heavy bolter squad. What do I mean by that? Plasma pistol on the sergeant, plasma gun on a guardsman, and a heavy bolter. That is a squad that can pretty much deal with any threat. 3 plasma shots at close range, 3 heavy bolter shots. The plasma shots can cut through heavy armour, especially when overcharged. The heavy bolter, that gives you long range capabilities and adds some serious anti-horde to your infantry unit. Because don't forget, when you take a heavy weapon squad in an infantry unit, you combine 2 guardsmen to make the heavy weapon. So you get to keep, you get one lasgun and 1 heavy weapon. So when you're firing a 10-man infantry squad and you've got a sergeant, a special weapon gunner, and a heavy weapon gunner, you then have 6 riflemen, but you also have a rifle from the heavy weapon team. So that actually is 7 rifles. So when you first rank fire, second rank fire, make sure you're not missing out on your extra 2 to 4 lasgun shots from your heavy weapon teams. Okay, so I said the second place that they go well is the heavy weapon squads. Now the reason for this is because they're cheap. Heavy weapon squads are pretty squishy, and your opponents will, if they shoot them, will kill them. I experienced this pretty early on in 8th edition when I was taking all of like las cannons, heavy weapon squads, and they were just getting disintegrated off the table. Literally, in the case when I faced Dark Elder, disintegrated are absolutely lethal against them. So I just decided to, if I was going to take heavy weapons, it was going to be mortars, heavy bolters, or autocannons. And heavy bolters are the best middle of the road there, because 3 heavy bolters, especially if you've got orders, rerolling ones to hit, or if you've got Yarick nearby, or Harker if you're Katachan, or if you stay still if you're Cadian, you can get reroll ones to hit. Then you can order them to get reroll ones to wound as well. Or if you're Cadian, you can just order them to reroll all hits if they stay still. So yeah, they're really good heavy weapon teams. And if they die, then big deal. You know, you lost some heavy bolters. They're cheap. You don't care. Your opponent will think he's done something significant. But whilst he's killing your heavy bolters, he's not killing your las cannons, which are in your infantry squads and your veteran squads. So there you go. So yeah, that's where I think they're best placed. In cheap disposable units, cheap body, just mass infantry units. That's where you want your heavy bolters. You could quite easily, very easily win the majority of your games if all you took was an endless amount or near endless amount of heavy bolter plasma squads. That's how good they are. That's how significant they are. Because the great thing about the heavy bolter is it pretty much wounds anything on a 5 or better, because it's strength 5. So you shoot at basic infantry, it's going to be wounding on like 3s, but there's very little that's just a flat toughness 5 in this game, so it's either going to be wounding things on 3s, or it's going to be wounding things on 5s. And wounding things on 5s is pretty easy to do when you're spamming heavy bolters. Now you should, I mean, I can testify to this. The heavy bolter is not a pure anti-infantry weapon. It can deal with vehicles. Because, and I can testify to this, like I said, I've shot mass heavy bolter plasma squads at a full Imperial Knight army and really wrecked it. Really, really damaged it. Because the heavy bolter, you get a couple of hits with it. If you're Cadian, it's very easy to get all 3 hits. And then you just, you get a wound. And the Imperial Knight only gets a 4-up save against that because it's -1. So you've got a 50-50, when you fire a couple of, I would say when you fire a couple of heavy bolters at a knight, you've got a 50-50 chance of doing a wound to it. That's 16 points that you paid for what, in just, you know, pardon me, 16 points you've paid to do potentially 3 wounds to an Imperial Knight, which is, you know, that's a classic super heavy unit right there. That's not a bad investment. Not a bad investment at all. That's what, like, roughly 5 points per wound? Yeah. If you take enough heavy bolt, don't forget you've got the plasma backing that up. You could easily do a lot of damage to super heavies with heavy bolters. That's why they're so good. So yeah, heavy bolter. I thought I'd start this series off on a good note. Start off on a solid, classic heavy weapon. Probably do things like the mortars and the autocannons. They're the 2 sort of basic budget weapon systems. And then we'll move on to the missile launcher and the las cannon. The las cannon, the king of heavy weapons, will save the best till last. So, hope you've enjoyed this video. Leave lots and lots of comments. Tell me how best you've been using your heavy bolters. Or have you found that there's a weapon that can do the job better than the heavy bolter? The autocannon has come down to 12 points now. It's kind of significant. Has that closed the gap? Leave lots of comments. Tell me what you think. Thank you for watching. And I'll see you guys next time.